I was checking my Goodreads earlier and it says here I've read 38 out of 50 books so far. So I figured why not do a best books of 2025 so far and the books that you should be reading this year. I've read a lot of great books this year and I've actually made a TikTok on all of my reads in 2025 so far and I give it a yes, no, maybe on whether I'd recommend it. Today, I'm gonna show you my best books of 2025. On the first half of this year, I'm going to speak in my native language because I wanted to explain in more detailed version. I'm going to start off with the book that I think everybody should read, and this is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This is a modern retelling of the book of Genesis, but mostly focusing on the poisonous rivalry of Cain and Abel. I'm confident to say this na ito yung isa sa mga libro na super talagang life-changing. Kasi minsan may mga book na parang OA ka naman na parang pagka-life-changing. But this one, definitely one for the books. Literal talaga kasi I just love how the story has many layers na super pwede mong ma-unfold. Hindi siya talaga yung super one-sided or one layer lang kasi ang dami-dami mong pwedeng complex characters na pinag-aaral dito. Especially one main villain of the book. I guess I just love how it focuses the themes of yung generational trauma, yung generational cycle na kung kailan ka ba titigil or kailan ikaw ba yung puputol or yung other generation mo na parang ikaw lang ba yung magiging bridge to stop that generational trauma, mga ganyan. It also has one of my all-time favorite characters, I think si Samuel or Sam. Kasi sa mga ganitong books, I super love kapag nagkakaroon ng contrast, like yung mga characters, meron silang hindi naman sa kakalaban, pero like, alam mo yung parang opposing idea or opposing character na not really literal na parang sa physical or literal na parang sa class, pero yung mga morals nila and yung mga lessons na gusto nilang iparating sa book. I love when a book does that. And John Steinbeck, chef's kiss talaga ang kanyang writing. Kasi sa akin, naniniwala talaga ako na kapag simple ka magsulat, pero kayang-kaya mong i-convey yung complex message and yung complex lessons na gusto mong sabihin in a very simple prose, you're a very good writer. If you want a really good characters na hindi ka magsaside sa kanila, but at the same time, hindi mo din sila, alam mo yun, parang naiintindihan mo din yung mga different sides. Kasi super galing niya John Steinbeck na magkaroon ng mga characters na parang magsisimpathy ka, at the same time, maiinis ka sa kanila. Yung ganung type of characterization, siguro ganun. I feel like everyone should read this at least once in their life. Everyone should give this a shot. Kung hindi nyo man trip, at least there will be like some lessons that you will be taking with you after reading this book. And I feel like kahit hindi ka religious or not really familiar with the book of Genesis, I think you'll still appreciate this kasi hindi naman siya super nagsisenter around that religious idea or religious thought of it. Parang more on yung rivalry between siblings na para bang hindi mo alam kung saan nanggagaling. Mas mga ganun type. However, if you're familiar with the book of Genesis or napag-aralan mo na yung Bible, you'll be like, alam mo yung parang meme ni Leonardo DiCaprio na parang alam ko yung reference na yan or may nod to the Bible, the Holy Bible itself. So, if there's one classic book that I'd recommend to all people, I think this is gonna be one of it. It's East of Eden. I have two short story or novellas, I guess. Ito, short talaga to, and this one is novella, which is a short story, pero I feel like yung short story talaga sana as in super short, whereas novellas like less than 100 actually. Kasi mga 80 pages, 80 pages lang kasi to. And for my girlies or my boys, ladies and gentlemen, ganyan, na walang time sa life or as of now, wala siguro masyadong space or time to read, I do have two short stories or novellas for you to read if ever na gusto mo ng classic recommendations without breaking the, kumbaga sa pera, like breaking the bank, pero ito, breaking the clock, like super mag-invest ka ng time sa kanya. And I have two, and the first one is a Japanese short story. This is by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. This is Hellscreen. And atong libro na to, specifically, madami siyang short stories ni Ryunosuke Akutagawa. But for some reason, sa cover, ito lang yung meron na, like, title Hellscreen. I was aware of Ryunosuke Akutagawa for a very long time now, especially since na-introduce siya sa akin because of Bungo Stray Dogs. I've been collecting all the Bungo Stray Dogs authors' books and works. Pero itong Hellscreen, very new to me siya. And I didn't know it was a short story, not until I've had like the time to research kung sa library or I mean mga boss ko kung ano pwede kong basahin na short. Like, kasi gusto ko lang ng simple read, very easy read, ganyan. Akala ko kasi thick book siya, yung pala short story lang. Collection of short stories to. This is about a painter who becomes obsessed with this work na pinapagawa sa kanya ng, I'm not really sure if Prime Minister na tawag doon. Basta yung parang king. King pala, hindi Prime Minister. King that time, yung mga old Japanese times. And I'm not really gonna say too much kasi ma-spoil ko nga since it's a very short story. But this is the perfect example of how consuming and how toxic passion can be to someone na super obsessive and controlling and will do everything to accomplish something, even all the people around them. Yan yung sasabi ko lang na that's really spoiler. But a very good read. I really, really like this one. It was very refreshing for me. Although not entirely la parang yung refreshing na genre na parang like tragedy or dark book genre, ganyan. Pero in terms like the story and yung mga binabasa ko like throughout these months, it was a very, very good, refreshing read, short story for me. Ayan, kung wala kayong time, definitely Hellscreen by Yosuke Akotogawa. And I actually haven't seen anyone or any TikTok recommendations na ni-recommend to. So, ayan. I was really, really happy when I found this one. Next is Chess Story by Stefan Zweig. This was a really, really popular novella. As in, possibly one of the most popular talaga na novela. Not because of his other works, yung Post Office Girls and Viewer of Pity. Pero ito talaga, as in, if you done your research, you would know that Stefan Zweig, Chess Story is super popular. Kahit nga tingnan nyo yung Goodreads, like, super dami na nagbasa sa kanya kasi nga ito yung parang, I think it was one of the part yata ng curriculum ng Austrian works writer, blah blah blah, basta yung part ng school curriculum nila. So, very popular short novella. And dito lang una actually kilala si Stefan Zweig. So, ayan, very ano siya, ano sa akin, again, not really refreshing na parang super new yung story, pero like in terms lang sa lahat, like sa execution, sa idea, especially na it evolves around chess, kasi hindi ko marunong mag-chess. So it was a really fun, interesting read for me. Noong una, the first half all about chess, I thought it was just gonna be like the normal thriller na parang mind games story, but then went into a different route or theme on the other half, which I still appreciate. Like, parang, yun din yung parang naging twist sa akin na, okay, so kaya pala siya, ganyan, ganyan. Because it's very easy to read. It's enjoyable. I think anyone will be delighted to read this kasi hindi naman siya super boring. I mean, hindi siya super boring. Like, gusto mo malaman kung ano yung next. Especially kung mahilig ka sa mga, alam mo yung mga mind game. Again, even if you're not playing chess, especially sa akin, hindi ko marunong mag-chess ever since the world began. I still enjoy this and it actually made me want to learn chess because of the mga moves or nakikita ko dito or nababasa ko sa libro na to. So, I really, really like it. And I'm so glad I started his work, Stefan Zweig's work with Chess Story, and not immediately jump to his now known, mas known na works. Kaya, ayan, very happy ako. And I could say, like, medyo beginner-friendly na book. Okay, this next book is, I guess, not really my Shayla, my baby, pero iba yung attachment ko dito sa libro na to. And this is the book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. Hindi ko alam talaga, sister. Parang alam mo yung parang nagbabasa ng sarili mong library. Although this is not for beginners, as in this is a very, hindi ma super hard read, pero kapag hindi ka nagbabasa palagi ng classics or ng literature, you will definitely have a hard time appreciating this art, appreciating this book. I'd like to see this as poetry-ish type ng libro and wag niyo siyang like babasahin ng, alam niyo, one-dimensional na parang nag-expect ka ng any story or whatnot. Kasi it's a stream of consciousness. Talagang kung ano yung naiisip niyang gusto niya sabihin at during that time, isusulat niya. So parang, alam mo yung very diary-like na parang pag nagkaroon ka ng notes app nung sinaunang panahon, talagang yun yung magiging libro mo is parang ganito. Yung mga random mo na outbursts, random mo na naiisip. I just really, really like this book because it's one of a kind. Parang hindi talaga siya yung typical na mababasa mo with story and hindi ka nag-expect ng something sa kanya. But at the same time, parang, bakit ka? Ba't niya ako naiintindihan? Like, parang, why are we feeling the same things that I wanted to put into words but I could not? For some reason, siya yung nakakapag labas ng mga naiisip ko before, yung mga feelings mo na hindi mo ma-explain in a like word way or in a like text or verbal way. To be honest, mahirap siya. Like, feel ko talaga yung pag mga ganitong authors na, yun naman, yung kanina sa akin kung kay John Steinbeck na East of Eden, I think, super magaling ka writer kapag na-convey mo yung message mo, yung story without really using complicated words or, alam mo yun, yung prose mo very simple, pero yung atake is grabe, like books. Pero, eto naman yung another type of prose or writing na parang very complex yung sinasabi niya, yung mga words na ginagamit niya. But at the same time, it hits different. Parang yun na gusto mong sabihin na complex is understandable but at the same time, naho-hold pa din yung complexity of the message of it. Parang ganun. Parang hindi siya nada-downplay. Ayun ang word. Ayun ang gusto kong sabihin. Hindi nada-downplay yung gusto niya sabihin. Kasi very complex nga, di ba, yung mga topics. So, ayan. This is not for everyone. This is not everyone's cup of tea. However, this is my cup of tea. I would say though, just a warning, if you're gonna read this, don't read this sa like iisang upuan. Don't read this like one night, one day, 2 days. Like yung parang bibilisan mo. Kasi you will get burnt out from this kasi nga wala siyang alam mo fina-follow na storya. So baka mamaya like miss ka lang sa kaka-rant niya. Kumbaga siya po ay nagda-dump sa'yo ng mga feelings niya. So kailangan mo din proteksyonan yung alam niyo yan, yung pag may pinagdaanan kayo in real life or may inisip kayo. Definitely wag niyo siyang iisang bagsakan na read. I think it is meant for it to be like, at least yung ginawa ko before is 1 or 5 passages per day. So I wouldn't get overwhelmed by his melancholic type of feeling. Like super bogs na melancholic feeling. You're also gonna feel like that. And maybe it's a bad way to feel about a book. Baka kasi maging opposite ng mangyayari is you'll hate this book because of the feeling that you felt during the reading session with the book. Ayan. If you can get your hands on this, definitely try it. Okay, speaking of melancholic feeling, this is, I think y'all know what this is. Piko, pag na talagang tambay kayo sa TikTok or mga literature talk, book talk, makikita nyo to. This is Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahatin Ali. Now that it's parang super TikTok, na siya, part siya ng TikTok. I do kind of feel like yung iba, medyo, nagiging turned off na sa kanya kasi parang, naging na siya, anong tawag na basta yung parang nawala na yung essence niya because of the TikTokification of it. But I still think that everybody should give this a shot even if you're not really a fan of romance. Ako kasi hindi talaga ako masyadong nagbabasa ng mga romance, like modern romance ha. But if it's a classic, I really, really appreciate slow burn. Yun ang tip ko. I don't really see this as a romantic love story, but a lot of people classify it as that kasi gets ko naman. It's really just revolving around a guy yearning for a girl. I think that's the best way to put it, like one sentence, simple way. Hindi naman kasi complicated yung mga words na ginagamit niya. But at the same time, yung topic or theme of love, the yearning, I feel like ito yung nagpauso ng word na yearning after blowing it up sa TikTok. Hyper-focus talaga siya dun sa girl. Like, in any form, any way. Like, kahit wala siyang binibigay yung girl pabalik, he still likes her. Like, parang hinahabol-habol pa rin and everything. Kasi yung ending, nakakaloka yung ending na parang, ano ba yan? Ano nangyari? Pero, ayun. Gustong-gusto ko yung isa sa mga way to portray a love, and very appreciated itong Madonna in a Fur Coat, and very well-deserved hype naman, kumbaga. Although I still think na kapag may sinabi na it's not as good or overhyped, feel ko it's I'm just blaming it on TikTok. Take it as you will. Huwag kayong mag-expect masyado. I'm riding on the hype of this one kasi deserve naman. Okay, we're now moving into medyo heavy reads, like para medyo complicated. Actually, hindi naman super complicated to, pero I guess the Brontë sister, dalawa. Kasi yung kay Anne Brontë, ang nababasa ko pa lang sa kanya, again, The Descent of the Wild Fell Hall. I didn't really like it that much. As in, I do appreciate, like, maganda naman siya, recommended ko pa siya. Kaso nga lang yun, something to be like, ewan ko. So first, sorry, pero I hate to be the one to say na oo nga, okay. I do understand why she's not as popular as her sister since in terms of writing. Although, baka may iba naman siyang libro na I could explore, but again, yun pala nababasa kong work niya. We're gonna start off with a love and hate relationship kaming dalawa, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë. Ako talaga, like parang alam mo yung super love na love ko si Jane as a character. I do see myself in her and I do super love ko siya. She's a very precious girl. Parang gusto mo siyang topahin and gusto mo siyang alagaan, gusto mo siyang ibigyan ng one big hug. But at the same time, gusto ko siyang sapakin kasi yung mga choices niya sa buhay when it comes to men, ganyan na lang ako. Kasi parang medyo ang hirap, yung complicated kong feeling sa kanya, parang medyo nahihirapan ako magkaroon ng empathy. Kasi, alam mo yun, parang complicated kasi, nagpapakita si Charlotte Brontë na yun ngayon, parang very own girl si Jane Eyre, which feel ko naman a lot of critics and a lot of people will say that na yun nga, parang si Jane Eyre kasi yung isa sa mga female characters na gustong-gusto nila because of that. Like, parang because she is aware of her own choices. She is aware kung gaano yung ano may parang pagiging independent and yung going out of or straying out of the norm during that time. But at the same time, parang suddenly kapag when it comes to men, hindi ko ma-explain kasi siya din as a character, inaano niya yung sarili niya parang alam ko naman yung ginagawa ko, alam ko tong pinipili ko. So, parang medyo ang hirap niyang i-criticize kasi medyo sa akin I'm just stepping away from the super critical critics ng writing niya or yung pag-write ng character kay Jane Eyre. Ang sa akin lang talaga, yun lang talaga yung naging impression ko, yung naging feeling ko. Parang medyo may hindi naman sa hypocrite, pero yun, parang naisip ko kasi parang suddenly, feel ko nakaka-cancel out lahat ng strong, independent girls sa katawan niya when she chose that path sa lalaki. Alam mo yung ganung feeling na parang suddenly lahat ng sinasabi niya about herself, about being this straying, about her leading her own life, her owning up to her own life. Suddenly nawawala na siya yung parang medyo hindi ko na siya na-appreciate nung may ginawa siyang decision. So, ayun. Super na-hate ko yun. At the same time, yun nga, babalik na naman tayo sa hindi ko siya ma-criticize kasi nga, again, she was a very young girl tung ginawa niya yun. And again, mayroong play dito ang manipulation of the older men and alam mo may parang predatory behavior and whatnot. Yun na nga, parang nagkakaroon ako ng complex feelings because of that, na parang alam ko, aware ako ng kasalanan, ang may kasalanan talaga is yung lalaki. But at the same time, alam mo yun, parang, alam naman ni Jane alam mo yun, super complicated talaga yung feelings ko dito, kaya alam mo yung, talaga magiging isa sa mga top book ko siya, kasi nga, siya lang ang so far talagang super nag-inflict ng gantong, hindi ko malaman kung anong maramdaman ko sa kanya. I'm getting like hit, alam mo yun, parang natetense ako pa pinag-uusapan to, kasi, gunan ako kay yin and yang yung feeling ko sa kanya. Kaya, very natutuwa ako pa nagbabasa ako ng mga reviews or like, opinions about this book and how they love Jane Eyre but they hate Mr. Rochester. Ayun. Ako, I do have a love and hate relationship with Jane. Like, I love her to death when she's in her own loving era, ganyan, self-loving era. But when she's faced with men, Hindi ko na alam kung ano mapipili ko. Like, kaya gusto kong mabasa ng lahat to kasi I'd also like to have your opinions or your reviews about this and kung valid ba yung nararamdaman kong love and hate relationship ko sa kanya. Kasi everybody, I think this is one of the books na super nakita ko talaga na it's either they love it, super love it, like they will defend it with their lives, or they hate it to death, as in super gusto nila lang ibaon sa sang man gusto nila ibaon. Basta ganun, pero super wala siyang gray matter. Pero siguro ako, andun ako sa gitna. Ako siguro yung ganun. Kasi wala talaga. Hindi ko alam kung anong, I don't know where I stand with this book. Kaya gusto kong makita or malaman nyo pag nabasa nyo na yung libro na to. We're now moving on to her sister. By the way, ang daming chika kay Charlotte Brontë na parang dami niyang sinabotage yata ng works ni Anne or ni Emily Brontë. I'm not really sure kung ano yung chika, the sister tea. But at the same time, parang, okay, now that I've read her works, maybe she's valid for criticizing other people's work. Pero at the same time, parang, ay, pati pala si Jane Austen, kinikriticize ni Charlotte Brontë. Pero at the same time, parang, okay, just let people do things. Pero, okay, like, work, magaling ka super magbasa. Yun pala na nakalimutan ko sabihin, super love the writing. As in, galing niya magsulat talaga. Time naiinis ako sa ginawa niya dito sa Jane Eyre. Like, yung ending and stuff. Why did you have to ruin it with that ending? However, itong namang Wuthering Heights, this one, ito yung nagustuhan ko siya kasi hindi siya, alam mo yun, hindi siya pretentious na, hindi siya nag-steer away from that idea na talagang, toxic love kami, toxic akong person, toxic kaming dalawa talaga sa isa't isa. Comparing it with Jane Eyre na parang, ano ba yun, kaya ako may complex feelings kasi nga parang, ano ba talaga ikaw? Parang ganun, like, ano ba yung gusto mong iparating? Like, just speak aside and then go on with your life. Kasi medyo complicated nga Jane Eyre. Pero ito nga, hindi siya nag-steer away from the factor na this is not a love story. Like, super in your face siya. Talagang ni-romanticize lang siya before ng mga readers na parang, dark romance. This is not supposed to be, you know, like your typical relationship, ganyan. Pero sa akin kasi talaga, as in, si Emily Brontë, hindi siya nagpaliligoy-ligoy na pinapaalam niya sa'yo on how it would look like or what toxic relationship looks like on this kind of times. And super na hangaan ako sa kanya kasi nakapag-write siya ng ganitong type of book during that time na para bang akala mo hanggang ngayon is talaga nangyayari pa rin naman yung ganung karmic twin flames, toxic situationship, ganyan. Super hindi ko talaga nagustuhan itong isang character na to, which everybody does naman. Like, they hate Heathcliff. I also don't like Catherine. She's very, para sila. Like, kaya nga sila ganun ni Heathcliff kasi ganun naman talaga ang kanilang souls. Like, through and through, deep down, talagang bagay sila, to be honest. You can kind of see why and how it happened. Although na kukulangan ako sa backstory or parang, parang medyo na-weirdonahan ako na parang nag-jump agad sa present or parang nag-jump agad na parang obsessed na sila masyado sa isa't isa. Parang I would kind of want to see pa yung kung paano nag-transition from just being in the same house kasi parang step siblings-ish, hindi naman super blood related pero kasi diba nakuha lang sa daan si Heathcliff, ganyan, from like being this consuming, obsessive type of love na kung ano nangyari sa kanila. Parang doon lang nakulangan na parang, itong mga batang to, akala mo naman talaga kasi ano sila nangyari, 16, 17 sila naging ganun. Bakit naging ganyan? Like, at what point na naging super ganyan kayo? So, doon ako nakulangan kasi ang nangyari na lang throughout the book is yung aftermath na ng pagkakaroon nila ng ganung attachment sa isa't isa. Ang dami ko sinabi. Ayun, kaya very interesting sa akin to. One of the best books sa akin kasi again, very refreshing. Ang ganda na tinatakal niyang themes, ang ganda na tinatakal niyang topics, and maganda siyang pag-aralan. Probably, I would say, 18, 17 years old ka para mamulat ka na parang, oh shit, this is not love. pala na deserve ko. This is not the love that, you know, na normal. This is just like romanticized violence or manipulation, etc. Ganyan. So, ayan, very nice read. Highly recommend na hindi mo siya babasahin ng blindly. Like, again, it was just romanticized too much before, but now I'm thankful sa TikTok, sa YouTube reviews na saying it for, ano ba, for saying it na kung ano siya. Di ba? Hindi siya ni-romanticize, ganyan. So, ayan. Huwag yung gagayahin to. But still, di ba? Magandang read to warn yourself na, okay, red flag, out, ganyan. Siyempre, hindi matatapos ang video without mentioning the king himself pala, Dostoevsky. I do have 2 of his major works, if not like yung pinaka talagang famous niyang works, aside from White Nights, of course. Ito po ang Brothers Karamazov and Crime and Punishment. So, I'll go through each one. Let's just put the Brothers Karamazov at the end kasi siya talaga yung parang, okay. May nilalaban talaga siyang top 1 spot sa aking utak for 2025 kasi nilagay ko na siya sa top 2 ko. Ganyan ko muna siya since I don't want to close any doors for my top 1. Anyways, I'm super chika naman ang person. Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This is actually my second read, my 4th book of his. Pero this year, my second book kasi mas una yung Brothers Karamazov before yung Crime and Punishment. But a lot of people actually are saying na unahin yung Crime and Punishment if you do want to start with Dostoevsky or if you want to explore his literature na hindi ka naman super beginner. Syempre, kailangan kapag babasahin mo si Dostoevsky is medyo talaga nagbabasa ka ng literature kasi nga he is very known for being a yapper of the century. So, yung Crime and Punishment, I could agree na mas kung gusto niyo mag-start or mag-dive into his thick works, yung talagang super deep work, siguro nga so far, ito yung may recommend ko na uunahin nyo yung Crime and Punishment kasi it's very, sabihin natin, hindi naman super dali, pero it's easier than the Brothers Karamazov. Pero it's just, ang complex idea lang dito is yung, syempre yun nga yung parang, yung mismong character and yung mga nararamdaman niya and yung morality niya, like yung moral compass niya, and then yung masyado siyang delusionado sa kanyang ideas of the world. And parang, alam mo yung parang parang meron na siyang God complex ba yung tawag dun, yung parang nakakala mong siya na yung, kung ano yung sinasabi niya or kung ano iniisip niya, yun na yung pinaka-correct sa kanya. Parang ganung type of egoistic, narcissistic way na yung tingin niya sa sarili niya na parang gusto niyang i-test yung morality niya ng sarili niya without sinusunod yung mga norms na mag-test ng morality ng isang tao, and that is by murdering an old lady. And that's not a spoiler kasi it's very known for that plot na parang he just randomly kills an old lady just because he feels like it. Like super random na murder, wala naman siyang any like resentment to the old lady. Wala siyang any purpose at all but to just test his limits, I guess, as a human, or yung test ng sarili niya kung mapaprove ba niya yung mga ideas niya or yung pagiging God complex niya, ganyan. So, yun yung parang sa akin yung complex part ng book. Pero in terms of writing, I could say na hindi naman siya ganun ka-complicated compared to his other works. Kasi actually, yung crime, di ba yung title, Crime? It's about his crime. He's killing an old lady. And then the punishment. Like, it's not really about, like, him being locked up or him, like, having to go through all of this. Like, alam mo yung syempre normal, kapag pumatay ka, di ba, makukulong ka. But, the punishment itself is his dilemma and him questioning everything after doing the crime itself. Kasi akala niya, after doing the crime, he's like, okay, napatunayan ko na hindi siya straightforward character. Doon yung malalaman na yung title is, I think, yun yung pinaka-best represent niya ng nangyari sa story. Last but not the least, again, I'm putting this on my top 2 list. Wala pa akong top 1. I'm still looking forward to reading all the books that I want to read this year. But so far, ito ang ating top 2. Actually, medyo nagalaban sila ni East of Eden sa top 2 spot. This is The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. This is a very not everyone's cup of tea book, but I think everyone should still appreciate this book kasi I'm saying na hindi siya yung everyone's cup of tea because this is more of Dostoevsky's work na nag-lean on sa religious ideals niya. Kaya hindi ko siya ma-recommend sa lahat kasi ito yung so far, ito yung pinaka-religious niyang libro na work na nasulat. I guess, hindi naman ambitious, I guess. Parang, for me lang kasi yun lang yung naisip ko na parang ambitious since ang daming characters dito. Meron tayong 3 brothers, yung ngayon Brothers Karamazov, but they do present, like, meron silang present for each brother. Like, yung isa, yung passionate in a bad way, like, super nagpapadala sa emotions, like, very intrusive, like, hindi intrusive parang impulsive, ayan, very impulsive, while the other brother, parang, he's trying his best to be right, o yung parang poetic justice, ano yung mga gano'n, yung parang, he's trying to be the best brother that he can be, like, more in terms of morality. We have the lovely Alyosha, which is one of my favorite characters of all time, and that is the youngest brother. Ayoko na mag-spoil, pero yan. Kasi siya yung talagang, alam mo yung, natutuwa ako sa kanya since ang daming may favorite kay Ivan. Parang daming sabi na parang siya yung, hindi man underrated, pero parang sa underrated na lang. Naging siya na yung pinaka-famous. Kasi ang daming ang may gusto na sa kanya for being like, underhype character, ganyan. Ayun na, siya na yung pinaka-naging hype. Pero ako, si Alyosha, I think, he's still my favorite because parang siya yung perfect example na character na kahit na super nawawala na siya ng pasensya and tinetest talaga yung faith niya. Talagang he still chooses to be kind despite of everything. Parang ganun. Like, parang ang hirap kaya maging ganun. Like, kagaya niya. Like, ang daming, especially may isang major na nangyari na talagang gusto niya nang maging masama na lang. Pero he chose to be, on the other path na yun yung parang isa mga pinaka-strongest na nakita kong ginawa ng isang character. But, again, hindi lang naman yun yung pinag-uusapan kasi nga, it's about the murder of their father. Mga pangalan nito, nakalimutan ko. Fyodor Pavlovich Karamazov, yan. Yung pinaka-main story, which is the murder of their father. So, hindi nila alam kung sino nag-murder ng sa father nila. So, before that actually, ang daming nagreklamo din na very slow tong libro na to. Pero gets ko kasi yun nga yung sinasabi palagi na plot ng Brothers Karamazov. Pero actually, it's not really the main plot. Like, akala ng tao, kaya ang dami din hindi siya nagustuhan kasi na-bored sila and ang daming umayaw kagad. Like, hindi enough siya. Kasi yun yung in-expect nila. Like, parang thrill, this, like, parang moral na parang, like, compare sa Crime and Punishment. I think if you're looking for that, like, alam mo yan, yung in-expect nyo na super thrilling na libro, I think Crime and Punishment is for you. Pero yung expectations mo surrounding a murder na story, hindi siguro ito yung masasatisfy sa inyo kasi this is really just Dostoevsky's excuse to showcase his ideals and his religious beliefs. He's very religious actually. Like parang, feel ko hindi niya talaga maalis sa kanyang core yung pagiging religious niya. Kaya ito pong libro na to is I do not recommend this to anyone who has a certain expectations sa libro na ito. So, I suggest na if you're gonna read this, just throw all of your expectations out of the window so you could appreciate this more. Just like East of Eden, super naging favorite ko din yung pag-aralan yung mga characters and peeling them like an onion, layer by layer, kung ano ba yung mga nire-represent nila and ano ba yung mga symbolisms nila and ano ba yung mga makukuha ko sa kanila or pupulot ko sa kanilang mga lessons or what. Kasi, syempre, knowing a writer, lahat naman lang sinusuot nila may purpose. So, ayan, super fun na i-dissect, I guess, yung mga chapter by chapter and madami din ditong mga ideology ni Dostoevsky na very interesting na either lalabanan mo or mag-a-agree ka. Very enjoyable for me. I feel like this is one of the books na kung ready ka nang basahin siya, talagang ma-appreciate mo siya. Ito yung talagang hindi mo siya pwedeng basahin lang dahil mood mo lang. Talagang kailangan ready ka na for it. You will love every single chapter on this if you really take it wholeheartedly talaga as in. Okay, so that concludes my best books of 2025 video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And talagang nag-native language na talagang Tagalog na lang ako kasi I could explain it in more detail. Saka hindi ako prepared na mag-English today. Talagang yun ang first one. So, I hope na meron kayong nakuwang book reco sa akin or meron kayong nakuwang book na pwede pag-usapan na you've also read and you had or different sentiments sa akin. Let's just talk about it. If you have a different experience or if you have a similar experience sa aking mga sinabi ng libro earlier. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you guys have more video ideas or videos you want me to make, let me know in the comments in the section. Subscribe, like, and share. Bye!